Good day, I'm Terblanche-Smit. I'm at USB Ed. We Read for You session, and today I'm presenting a book, Lessons from the Boot of a Car by Reg Lascaris. This book is essentially about the journey of our entrepreneur, Reg Lascaris, but it also contains a number of business lessons and life lessons, and it's a lovely book to actually just recap on what is important when you start out your own business, and also just lessons to confirming what we have to do in business still today. The book is really about the journey, about Reg Lascaris' journey as an entrepreneur. It's about his career, but it's also about business, and it has lovely life lessons. So it's not a heavy session, so hopefully that will help to get you in the mood for the weekend. Now, Reg mentions in the book that South African businesses are too cautious and pessimistic. And he says this book was written for the optimists. In his words, the future is theirs because the pessimists don't want or can't see it. And I think this is the golden thread throughout this book. It's about being optimistic, going for opportunities, using opportunities when they arise. He says in this book, and it's basically all about this, be bold. He says business should be backed by risks and hard work and dedication. And entrepreneurial success is basically built on vision, discipline, and people. I like that, the people part, because that is what it's about. But small businesses are the salvation of South Africa. We have to develop entrepreneurship, which in return develops small businesses, which will create economic growth. Now, Reg studied for a BCom, and he quit, like a lot of people do, and he decided to travel Europe. He traveled Europe for 2 or so years, and then he came back to South Africa. I think he says in his book, his mother said it's time to come back, like moms do, and he joined the mining industry. So he lasted in his first job for 2 days. So he joined the music industry, and he didn't last very long there either. So he joined the filming industry, so he was fired from the filming industry. So all that was left for a creative person was advertising. So in 1970, he started looking for a job in advertising. And I love this because he looked for a job in advertising, knocking on doors for a year. So what he did, and this is a good lesson for our generation Y, our generation of entitlement, he got an interview with the CEO of the Central Advertising Agency. And he said to him, you know what, I will offer to work for you for free for 3 months. I really just need the experience, and then after 3 months, you can pay me what you think I'm worth. And he said, well, that's a deal. So that's how we got into advertising. But the lesson from this part of the book is really never, ever, ever, like Churchill said, give up. So we started working at Hans Advertising in the middle of the 70s. And the agency, and this is a good lesson for all of us, almost went bankrupt because of the lack of financial skills. Because of this, they joined hands with Cooper, and they launched a new agency called Cooper Hands. And this is where he met John Hunt, who was a copywriter at the time. As I said, John was the creative side. And they shared the same goals. So the lessons from his early days in advertising is ultimately reputation is everything. And also, he admits that he was really sorry that he never finished his education. Finish what you start. So this is where the idea for this agency, on what the book was based, started. So they were ready to launch this world-class agency out of Africa. They knocked on doors to get funding. So eventually he went knocking on doors again, couldn't secure funding, and he went to his friend Neville McKay, who was the founder of the Kelly Group. And eventually Neville actually said, I'm in, I will give you the money that you need to start your agency. And then this client started coming in. Nasher, they got the Alitalia account, and things carried on from there, growing from there. And I think the lessons here, and remember this is the lessons when you start as an entrepreneur and starting a new business. It's about passionate people. This is essential to business success, but especially to entrepreneurial success. So now they started building credibility, and like it goes with businesses, as you grow, a lot of agencies at the time advertising agencies had big international connections. So they needed an international connection. And what they did is they used the last money they had, the two of them, and got on a plane to New York, and they went to TBWA, one of the biggest agencies in the world. They walked out of there with a handshake, basically saying, great, you've got a deal. And they built themselves up to become industry leaders. And they also tried to use their influence to try to change the effect of apartheid. We're talking pre-democracy here, with apartheid years, and HIV/AIDS. And the lessons here from starting, going international, is really saying we have to think ahead already. We have to look at new goals. And also be opportunistic. What they did with this international connection. Grab the connection if it's there. Go for whatever options are available if there's an opportunity in it. Now, BMW is a huge client. And they became one of the pivotal clients that gave credibility to them as an advertising agency. And also Nando's. Now, if I say Nando's, you have a specific idea and you have a specific way of thinking about what Nando's does. So the lessons from this is really passion is everything. It's about passion and creativity, and these are drivers of value. Now we're getting to the advertising part and what they delivered as a business. Now they were this bigger agency, they had the ANC on board, and they started to challenge their clients to be extraordinary.
Doesn't it make sense to drive a luxury sedan that beats the Benz?
Mercedes started this, and this is all about listening very carefully and seeing what your competitor is doing. Because remember, they just got the BMW account, so they were open to see what the main competitors were doing. And BMW at the time were playing huge media havoc and using this as publicity. What happened, a guy was driving a Mercedes-Benz. He went around a corner on Chapman's Peak and he drove off the cliff. Now, luckily, the driver came out with a few scratches. And Mercedes went wild with this. See what happens when you drive a Mercedes? You can actually be in an accident and, survive. And then they said, well, we won't drive off the cliff. Now, and the only place where they referred to Mercedes was in the word Benz. So very subtle, but obviously Mercedes was up in arms at the time. Lessons here really, watch your competition. See what they're doing, use the opportunities. So, BMW said, let's do a quarter-page print ad. We want to launch power steering and explain it to our clients, and that's what we want to do. And they said, no. We have a really great idea that we want to propose, and it's a television campaign. Now, this advert was amazingly powerful and successful for them. And to this day, it's the only South African ad in the Hall of Fame in New York.
A BMW
318i. Now with power steering.
And the lesson here really is small beginnings can lead to big things. If you think where they started and what they've achieved, even just up to this point in time. They decided, and this is, like I said, where I met them, to open a Cape Town office in 1990. They were only based in Johannesburg up to then. And they started getting more national clients like Tiger Brands, Standard Bank got on board, City Lodge. Entrepreneurs, but also big companies, have to find a role that they can play in society and make a difference. They focused on two areas. They joined the peace movement. I don't know if you remember those two doves, a blue and a white dove, the logo of the peace movement. They developed that logo and helped launch this whole movement. And then also they carried on with HIV/AIDS. And then in 2000, they said, right, it's time to move into the continent. Let's grow our business into Africa and the Middle East. Now, they've been going for a while, and he's towards the end of the book, he comes up, he basically admits that in 2003, the agency started to decline. They lost their edge, their creativity, they started losing clients. Really, he mentions there that instead of thinking about the work done and how special clients were, the employees grew arrogant. In 2004 to 2006, he talks about the classical founder's trap. Now, I'm sure you know what the founder's trap is. Really, if founders of a business start moving out of the business, things start to change, things kind of wobble a bit, they don't know what to do, but also the founders of a business really want to look back, because that's, where do we come from? Look what we achieved, and the new generation wants to go forward. In 2007, they reinvented the company completely. They moved out. They said, we will advise, but we're not going to dictate anymore. And really what the lessons that we get from this is the importance of diversity and the strength of diversity. In our workplaces, we work with 4 generations at least. We're talking about the baby boomers, the 50-pluses, if you don't know, Generation X, their children mostly, or the generation after, Generation Y, the post-94 generation, and then we also start getting Generation Z, or the millennials in, right? The kids born after 2000. And this is, all of these generations think differently, act differently, have different work ethic, right? So obviously the younger generation is not working just yet, but we have to think of how you balance this in a business. Now to end off, and as I said earlier, look at the future. It's important to have a vision to look forward to. When I started in advertising many years ago, it was a one-way communication process. It was easy. You strategize, you develop concepts, and you have one-way communication through television and print or whatever. Today, consumers talk back. It's a two-way communication. And then to finish off, he lists a few things, actually much more than these. These are just my favorites. Set goals. See the future. Feel it, the vision. Work hard and with passion. Stand up to challenges. Surround yourself with good people. Keep a balance between work and play. And then the lesson to end today is actually just this. Use a compass, not a map. It's fine to just move in a general direction. You don't necessarily need a map. I thank you for your time and for listening to me.